Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Becky Brown, and I am joined by Dr. Alice Benton and Dr. Jill Hubbard in California. How are you?
Hey, gals.
Hello.
We're doing good. Becky,
Yep.
glad to be with you.
It's Wise Wisdom Day with the women, and so we're going to go right to the calls, and we're going to talk with Shantae, who's calling us from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, listens on WAVA. Hello, Shantae. How can we help you today?
Yes, hello. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes.
I'm calling to ask, thank you. I'm calling to ask a question about myself. I'm a married woman for 12 years. My husband for 6 years has been using crack cocaine actively. He has abandoned me for the last year and 13 months. I moved to a new location or state, and out of a year and a half, he's only been here 3 months total. My question is, how can I help myself? If I have sought legal advice to get a divorce, but I was told if I divorced him, I would have to give him half of the equity, even though he didn't put anything into it, and I would have to give him half of my retirement. So divorce is not an option. It was never an option, but divorce really isn't an option for me now. I'm in a new state with no one. And at times I feel like I don't know where my life is going.
Mm-hmm. Gosh. Shantae, we hear that pain, and it is such a difficult situation. Jill, let's start with you. What would you say for Shantae?
Yeah, and Shantae, tell me again how long you've been married total?
12 years.
12 years. Okay, so the first 6 years of the marriage, was he using then?
No, he had his own business. I used to always joke about while I was cooking dinner, when I would get off of work, he would be sitting at the table. We would be playing Family Feud. I'd clean the dishes up, and we would go upstairs to bed without holding hands at night before we would go to sleep.
Oh.
He lost his business.
So when he lost his business, he turned to the drugs?
No, that's what took his business away.
Oh, okay.
The people that he was hiring, his business became very successful, and he was hiring people from the street, and those people from the streets were using drugs. And I guess one thing from that, I started noticing how he wasn't at home for dinner, and he was going in an area where I knew that they used drugs, and he would say, just because they're doing it doesn't mean I'm going to do it, and it happened.
What a shock. And you went from such an ideal marriage in so many ways to this. Do you have children together?
No, we don't.
And what took you to this new state you've moved to?
Well, I thought that if we moved away from a place that I know is prone for drugs, that we could start all over in our marriage. Because I was trying to save our marriage.
Of course.
It's so hard, Shantae. You can hear the music. We're going to go to a break, but we're going to come back, and we're going to talk further with you. You know, it can be overwhelming when people get stuck in those kind of addictions. They get lost. They can't see themselves, and they can't see what they've done. And it
hijacks
so
their brain. It hijacks their brain.
Yes, it does. And everything else. It hijacks the family, hijacks the marriage, the business, all of those things. Shantae, our heart goes out to you, but we're gonna come back after this break, and we're gonna give you some help. And if you're holding on, we're gonna continue to answer calls all throughout this next hour. We're glad that we are here to help.
I've had a weight problem my entire life. I learned to use food as something to comfort myself. Subconsciously, I was hoping for a magic wand.
You can lose weight and keep it off for life, but it involves more than just the latest fad diet or exercise machine. If the underlying emotional, spiritual, and physiological issues aren't addressed, the weight returns.
I had tried various things. I tried 12-step programs. None of those approaches were quite like what I heard at Lose It for Life.
The Lose It for Life online workshop deals with all of these aspects with its intensive, comprehensive, and interactive curriculum. This online workshop features Zoom sessions presented by Steve Arterburn on Saturday, March 18th, plus 4 small group process sessions facilitated by a credentialed New Life Network counselor. And fitness expert Michelle Spadafora will lead exercise sessions. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back, and we are so grateful to be able to get to all of these calls, and just, we're grateful to be here. And we're talking with Shantae, who's been married 12 years, but husband has been addicted to cocaine for 6. Mm-hmm. Shantae, one of the things, and then I'll let Alice and Jill continue. One of the things that I think about is sometimes when we get the first answer from legal representation, we think that that's the only answer that's viable, and we may need to go to another lawyer. Now, I know that there's a part of you that says divorce is off the table because of this requirement to give him half. But I think, just an idea, if you were to give him half now, then you have the rest of your life to be free and not to be chained by this. And I'm not for, divorce necessarily. I would love for your husband to get clean and sober and find a transformed life. But that's just one option that sometimes it's hard when you're in those situations.
Right. But to even seek out a legal separation.
Yes.
And then work on kind of putting that out before him. We're going to live separately until you're willing to get the help and to go into treatment, right? And maybe you've already done all of that. But that is, for you. Go ahead.
State that I live in, it's either divorce or marriage. There's no legal separation.
There's no legal separation. Oh. Okay.
So what do you think, Shantae, what do you think about seeking other legal advice or just considering what I suggested?
Well, because I'm paying for everything, you have to sit down and talk to a lawyer. You have to give them a fee, and to me, that's like throwing money away that I don't have right now because I am on a fixed income.
A lot of attorneys will actually give a free consultation before they take any action with you. So I'd have you at least make some phone calls to ask for free consultations, because I've worked with attorneys who are willing to do so. And I know it's different by state, but do ask.
Because, it seems like there needs to be some kind of protection for you moving forward, so that he doesn't just get to clean you out, so to speak.
How is he funding his drug habit right now? Do you know?
I don't know.
And is he talking to you at all? And if so, what's he saying about the marriage, about sobriety? What's he talking about?
I went to where he was. I was riding around and I saw his vehicle, and I left a note on there because I hadn't talked to him in 2 weeks. He doesn't call me when he's out there. And he told me that he was coming home. I told him that he needed help. He said he know, and he said I'm coming, but it's been almost a week and he didn't come. So he doesn't say anything. He'll agree with me, and either he won't talk at all and he's sleeping, or when he talks, he'll say, I'm right.
Yeah.
You're right.
He says the correct words, but with absolutely no follow-through. What's his family involvement with this, and is any of his family supportive of you?
They have abandoned him as well. They live in another state, south, and when it first happened, I asked them to come up and do an intervention, and they said no.
It's a little overwhelming. You know, Shantae, you also had asked earlier about what can you do for yourself, and I would suggest, since the fixed income is an issue, we're going to connect you with the Life Recovery Group that will help you with, you know, when you're in a relationship with somebody who's struggling with addiction, it really impacts you in a great way. And you need a group of people around you that you can be seen and heard. It's not going to cost you anything, you know, but it will be a very supportive community for you to move forward in whatever the decision making is. You know, a lot of times what we think is that the person who has the addiction has all the power. And it does feel that way. It feels that way right now. But we who are on the outside can see that there's hope and there's promise. And to Alice's point, there are legal aids out there that are not going to charge you, you know, necessarily that upfront money. But that also is one of those subjects that you can talk about with this strong group of people around you. But Shantae, we're gonna send you a copy of Understanding and Loving a Person with Addiction. I think it's drug addiction and alcohol.
Right.
It's by Dave Stoop. Yeah. And I think that'll also be some help, because it is like walking into a quagmire when you're trying to make sense out of things that don't make sense. And you have your whole life in front of you, and we want to help you get some healing in that. We're so glad you called. It's so hard when, you know, you're in relationships like that just impact every part of your life. We're going to continue taking calls, and we're going to talk to Marie, who's calling us from Nebraska, listens on KJLT. Hi, Marie. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi. We have a daughter who has decided she's a man in a woman's body. And she has been transitioning for a little over 5 years. When she started into this, you know, I took her out for a meal at her favorite restaurant and said, honey, I don't understand what's going on, but definitely I see there's changes here. And she explained to me what she thought, you know, that she thought she was a man in a woman's body. And I said, well, I definitely don't understand this. And I believe God made a man and a woman, and he wasn't confused, and he did that. But I will love you no matter what. She has been injecting herself with testosterone for 6 years, has a very, very deep voice, has a beard, you know, and she moved far away in another state with some other people she has met who accept her, like they have sort of created their community there. You know, she lives in a house with 3 other girls. One pair of girls is married to each other. Another one is transitioning also. And they all live together. Recently, I found out just through a chance happening that she's changed her name. And she's changed her name to Crescent legally because it has no gender. Because she made up a name similar to her name that she used as a man's name, and none of us ever called her that. She's one of 6 children, and
how old is she, Marie?
She will be 30 this year.
Okay.
So how can we help you, Marie? It's a very confusing situation, but how can we best serve you?
I just feel like we're growing further and further apart. And we were so close. She's my youngest. And we're very, very close always. And I just don't know how to love her, how to, you know, I told her I would always call her female name. I said, I bore you in my body. I named you this name. And she goes, well, this will be hard to explain to somebody, when I've got a beard. And I said, no, it won't. I know who you are. We need to speak truth to her. But, my husband sat down with her with scripture and stuff. And we, she was raised in the church. She believes she's an absolute follower of God. And God just loves her where she's at and accepts this. And he made her to feel that, she's a guy, and I said, I just don't think that.
Marie, I want you to know, we really understand your biblical position, and we believe in the same verses that you do, that was God's original creation. But I want to tell you, Marie, the more research I look into about this, the more I allow doubt, and the fact that we also deal with a lot of ignorance surrounding this issue. There's certainly acute gender dysphoria where we're seeing children who never displayed opposite sex tendencies who all of a sudden made a switch, but we didn't see it in childhood. And it may be that there's a societal influence there. And there are other, what I would call disorders, that have a societal influence and a societal contagion to them as well. Eating disorders is one example of that. But in this broken, fallen world, all of our generations of ongoing sin and brokenness, Marie, I've got to wonder what that has done to the experience of biological sex versus the experience of gender. And that even though as a Christian, I look at it and say, that was not what God intended for you. You're obviously wrong in how you're experiencing yourself. There's got to be something off here. Well, there is something off. But we don't have all the answers of what makes that switch where the biological sex doesn't feel accurate to somebody's gender. And so I would probably, to your surprise, I'd ask you to prayerfully reconsider whether or not you'll use your daughter's new chosen name. And as disturbing as that feels, and although you don't agree with the new name, when I have read from providers who work intensively with this population, they have found that there is always a story, often hidden, about what led to the gender dysphoria that this person is experiencing. And it may actually be the person's best attempt at showing up in the world. So we've got to hold that there's an immense amount of mystery here that we have not yet unraveled. But it could be, ask God about this, but it could be that using your daughter's name is a way to attempt to show love to her, although it feels so wrong to do. And in every individual case I've dealt with where I've wondered, do I use this person's new chosen name or do I use their given birth name? Because my preference is certainly use the name given at birth, especially for you as a mother. But that's putting a wedge between you and your daughter, which then diminishes your influence and your position in her life. So I ask you, prayerfully reconsider surrendering that stance.
Jill, what would you offer to Marie?
Wow. Well, I agree that, Marie, this is so complicated. And my heart goes out to you as a mom because you're grieving. I think about developmentally, each stage of a child's life, when we look back at the pictures, like I miss, my kids at their younger ages because they're not those people anymore, right? Who they
their
were.
Little voices too.
Yeah, their little voices, how they thought, how they interacted. I miss that, and I have to grieve all the time those younger ages, while at the same time embracing who they are today and trying to, champion the good in them, right? So that they can be the best they can be. I do think there's so much in this that a person, like you're saying, is trying to express and act out, and because this has become acceptable in society, it's now a vehicle for people to do that. In the past, it would have come out in a different way. And so I think I think meeting your daughter where she's at, she knows how you feel, right? Trying to love her even though you disagree with her, and she knows you disagree.
Because you've done a really good job of gently sharing your beliefs while still affirming and supporting her. And we praise you for that.
Right.
Well, and to your question, Marie, about how you don't want to feel so distant, I do think that, the fact that she is the youngest, that you were very close, there is that grief that what Jill is describing, but You want the relationship to continue to be close as it can be as our adults grow. And you know this because you've had other ones that have left the house. It's not always the same. And so if this relationship becomes centered around this disruption, it will cease to be close. She will not stay close to you because it will be a debate every time. And it makes you sad. Jill, you were going to say something.
We want you to look into Preston Sprinkle's work and his book Embodied, because he gives some biblical guidelines of how to handle these relationships in a loving and compassionate way, which you're trying to do.
Preston is smart. He's got a great podcast, and Steve refers to it all the time. But Marie, we are glad you called. We're going to send you a copy of the 1 Year Bible for Women. I know you are a Bible reading woman, but I think that'll encourage you. These are difficult times, difficult relationships. We're going to have we want to have that closeness, yet our children grow up to be the people that they think that they want to be, and we have to learn how to stay connected. We'll be right back after this.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is going to Washington, D.C., March 31st to April 2nd. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I've been listening to New Life for many years, gone to a few workshops. I want to support a ministry that helps people connect with God and with others and gives them the tools to help transform their lives.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Healing, 100 Days from Freedom from Shame, and 100 Days of Freedom from Anger. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. Sometimes we need a little more help than we can provide on a radio call. And, we have our counselor network, our coaching network. We offer workshops. We have our life recovery groups, which I referred to already. Newlife.com is the place that you can find all of that information. But I also want to encourage you, if you have any questions, it doesn't cost you anything to call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And we've got a great group of folks that are answering the calls, and we'll speak to you personally and see how we can get you some help and some resources.
Becky, can I just emphasize something from our last call?
Sure can.
In Jim Burns' book, Doing Life with Our Adult Kids, one of the things he always says is don't be a one-topic parent. And so I think it's really important to, yes, you've got to talk about things, and it's good to have the conversation be able to go in both directions, but then to, just as a parent, show interest in other aspects of a kid's life, not just the area that you're most concerned with, because we do know that there are other things that are fueling this that aren't getting attended to. And so you're not the therapist, but you can be someone that shows compassion and concern or care about the other parts of your daughter.
And it's It's
go ahead, Alice.
natural to be turned off by your child's new community when you think, oh, they're just a bad influence and they're exacerbating the problem. There's some legitimate concern there, but there is also such empathy and support in that community. And so there's an accessing of love there that your daughter is going through. And so being willing to find out what's the good in these people, these new people that are in her life, and showing a curiosity
What's the
about
draw,
them.
right?
Yes.
What are the character qualities?
Yes.
What are the attachments there? What does she feel when she's with these people, right?
Well, and I said that, you're, as a mom, you're not going to be the therapist, which is hard for those of us who are therapists, because
it is.
we just naturally come up with these questions. And my children say all the time, my children who are adults are like, Mom,
Exactly.
I'm not in the chair. And I get it. But the curiosity that we need to have for our adult sons and daughters is critical. Not just for, dealing with stuff like this. We've got a lot of folks that they're distant from their adult sons and daughters because they're not curious about their life. Like, ask about work, or, we can
shut them down too quickly because they're
yes.
scared of what they might hear.
Yeah, you just never know what you let out of the house. I tell you. We're going to go to our next caller. It's Claudia calling us from Orange City, Florida, listens on WKTO. We're so glad you called. Claudia, how can we help you today?
Well, my husband's in a nursing home.
Oh.
It's been very difficult. He's only 68.
Oh.
And he has 2 grown kids. We used to be so close. But now it's so silly. My stepdaughter has decided before she got married in January, that she wanted my shed. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of to be upset about. The shed is old. I'm using it. It would cost her $400 to move it to where she lives. People tell me it might just fall apart. So I wrote her mom a little note. My husband and I talked about it, and we thought, why don't you? I'm sure she had a bridal registry. We encouraged her to ask for money for the shed on the bridal registry. Now, Christmas, she hung up on me. Then she said, I didn't care about her because I wouldn't give her the shed. I know there's something else, but I don't know what it is. So anyway, now she called me not too long ago. She said, don't ever call her mother, don't ever call her grandmother, don't ever call anybody else in her family. Have a nice life. Goodbye.
Wow.
And her dad, he's a great guy, but he's always been this way. He never asks questions. Even his son got a new job, and I said, how does AJ like his new job? Oh, I don't know. We don't talk about it. So he has talked to Elena a couple times and asked her to make up with me. But, I recently made some changes to my situation as far as I got new lady to be my, with my living will and all that. So I wrote Elena, and I told her that I had, planned to have a cremation thing and all this kind of stuff. And I just signed it, I still love you. I don't know if I'll get any response. I've kind of given up, but I just grieve for this relationship. I've known that girl since she was 7 years old.
Oh, Claudia, I'm so sorry.
About all that, it's very hard. And I had to put my cat to sleep in December. I'm still upset about that.
Yeah, there's
Elena
a lot of
never
loss
even
there.
Called me. I've had a lot of loss.
I want to see what Jill and Alice have to say. I just want to ask one clarifying question. Is your husband going to be permanently in care, or will he come home at some point? He will permanently be in care.
I wish he could, but he's pretty much bedbound.
Oh.
Okay.
And Claudia,
and
very hard.
Over the break, think about whether or not there was much conflict in your relationship with Elaine before the shed incident happened. But we'll ask about that on the other side of the break.
Yeah, well, hold on, Claudia. We'll get to after this break. You can hear the music. There's many ways that you can listen. You can listen online. You can listen on our app. We have podcasts that people listen to. our YouTube channel as well. And I always want to say hello to our YouTube watchers, because I am part of your community, and you can click like or share, subscribe. It really makes a difference because it gets the word out to so many people so that we can help people like Claudia, like yourself. Maybe you need to give us a call, 1-800-229-3000, and we'll take the call after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It is always something when it comes to family. And we are talking with Claudia, whose family is in disruption right now. And Claudia, Alice left you with the question. And I don't know if you've thought of an answer, but
about previous conflict with your
didn't hear
stepdaughter.
it.
What?
Oh, okay.
Tell
Pardon
us.
me?
Tell us a little about the history of your relationship with Elaine, and was there a good bit of conflict in that relationship?
It's always been difficult with. I've always gotten along really well with her brother, but she's a drama queen. She's always had her own way about everything. She's very spoiled. Her father contributed to that. I used to fuss at him. She used to say when she was 9, we were on a trip, and she said, we'll pretend that Daddy's in charge. And he thought it was funny. I was aghast.
But
I said, your dad's in charge all the time, but she didn't think so, you know?
And Claudia, has she cut you off like this before when she gets really upset?
Not to this extent.
This is the worst. Okay.
I wasn't invited to the wedding. I wasn't invited to the bridal shower. Well,
so there's a history.
When things
so there's a
started
history
up,
here, Claudia.
I thought I don't even want to go because she's going to drink a lot, and I'm all for having a good time. But her father is an alcoholic.
Claudia.
I mean, that's part of the reason he's got dementia.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
There is a lot of disruption in the family. There's a lot. And so what your stepdaughter is doing now is more of the same on a different level. And so that's the reason why, Alice was asking about the history. But Jill or Alice, let's give Claudia some steps moving forward.
But I wanted to ask about, that she's focused now on the shed. So it sounds like she's been spoiled. Whatever she wants, she gets. But
right.
You're kind of scratching your head about this shed because, like you said, she could just buy herself a shed.
Touching the surface.
Right. But is there anything
to it?
Is there anything about the shed? Why is this shed significant in any way? Was it something?
I don't know.
Like, did her
She
dad
hollered
build
at me,
it?
and she said if I cared about her, I'd give her the shed. And I thought, I bought that shed in 2006. It's old. I paid $1,600 for it. First, I told her I would give it to her for $400, but then I realized I would never get any money because that's how she is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, they need to get their own darn shed, you know?
And you're still using it.
Shed to own. I mean,
Claudia,
Okay.
you certainly don't want to enable her spoiled
Right.
approach and her drama queen approach to relationship with you. And at the same time, we were wondering over the break, as her father has gone into a nursing home and she received some news from you about your plans for your own living will and for your cremation, it could be that she's in great emotional distress about her dad and about hearing your future plans. Sure.
Right.
And it doesn't justify how she's handling the shed. But I also wonder, is this the battle you want to fight with her, especially as it seems to mean complete loss of relationship? And when you consider, do I give the shed up if it means I get to have any relationship with my stepdaughter? What's your thought about that?
Blackmailing me about the shed. I don't like that.
No, I don't
Okay.
like. I don't like that either.
One day, and they were
Hold on,
they
Claudia.
were all
Hold on.
real
Hold
nice.
on. Claudia, hold on just a
okay,
second.
I think, though, there needs to be an intermediate step, Claudia, where you say, I'm really confused about your attachment to the shed that I'm still using. Can you help me understand why this is so important to you?
Well, she won't talk to me, so I don't know what to do.
You might have to reach out in writing.
Right. I'm not even going to call her because she'll probably just hang up.
Right.
Claudia,
Claudia, could you text her? Could you email her?
I don't
Could you
text.
write her a note and say, I'm really sad. I've known you since you were 7, and I'm sad about the loss of relationship.
I think that is
and
the way to
I'm
go.
sad about your dad, and I'm sure you are too.
Right.
And yet I'm still here, and I still desire a relationship with you. Can you help me understand some things? And are you hurting over these losses that you feel the need to push me away? Right? And what was the significance of the shed? Like, it could be a connection to her dad in some weird way.
Right.
I don't know.
It could be one of those practices that we do with so many clients where we'll say, write a letter.
Mm-hmm.
You may not send it, but it may be a good way to process that. And Claudia, just the way that you expressed, a lot of that's going on is a lot of loss. And there's a lot of grief that's going on just with the loss of your husband, even though he's still alive. There's the loss of that relationship and then this turmoil that's going on. You know, in families, we talked about this in another show where people get stuck in the grief process, and then also just the getting through the estate and all of those kind of things, and you're already making changes. It's just there's a lot of confusion. What book could we send Claudia?
Just before the book, I want to briefly add, Becky, that Claudia, with my mom when she passed away, I needed one of her mechanical pencils. For some reason, that meant so much to me. I always used it. I always saw her using it, and I just needed to have one of them. And it didn't make sense to anybody else, but it was an emotional connection to my mom. And then one other thing, Claudia, you said you'd give it to her at first for the $400, and then you changed your mind. I find that when I tell my kids I'll do something and I don't follow through, it is very hurtful to them, and they feel like I don't care about them because I didn't do what I said I would do. So in addition to Jill's advice of wondering about the shed and expressing your care for your stepdaughter, I'd also have you invite her. How did it affect you that I said yes and then I changed my mind? Because that's so often a point of rupture from parents to children or parents to stepchildren.
Yeah, thank you, Alice, and thank you, Claudia, for calling. Now we're going to go to Cindy, who's calling us from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, listens on Sirius XM. And hi, Cindy, how can we help you today? Thanks for calling.
Hi, Becky. Thank you. So I had actually called in almost a year ago about a friend of mine. I think it was Dr. Jill and Becky. I think you were both on this call. But I had a friend who we pretty much split ways, and there wasn't a big falling out. It was just kind of a mutual, we're having a tough time connecting. We don't agree on some things. I was getting married and she didn't like that I was getting married. I don't even think it really had anything to do with my husband. I think it just was, I think there was a point of jealousy there or something. Anyway, we just kind of had we had a time where we talked, and how it ended pretty much was that I told her, you know, hey, like I'm getting married, and you know, if you're telling me that I need to choose between you and my husband, I mean, you know, my fiance, it's gonna have to be my fiance. You know, that's just how it's. I mean, and it was one of those things. So, and she was like, no, and I totally understand that. I just, you know, blah, blah, blah. And she kind of wasn't being truthful about some things. And so we both just kind of left it. And then a few days ago, I just woke up, and it's been it's been kind of a tough point for me this whole year. But the other day I just woke up and I just felt like the Lord was asking me to reconcile with her. And I was reading Healing is a Choice, and I was reading about the section on forgiveness, and there was a point where Steve just points out that I think it's Matthew 5:9 that we're called to be peacemakers. And so I called her. I was like, should I write her a letter? Should I send her a text? And my husband said you should call her. And so I called her, and I just told her, hey, I don't really want to rehash the past, but I want to let you know that I miss you. I'm thinking of you. And that I want to apologize for my part in us, you know, for the things that I did that caused us to separate and not be close anymore.
That's beautiful.
I want to take ownership for what I did. And so she was really, you know, there was a lot of maturity in her response too, which was a good sign for me, and that she was, you know, she was like, hey, let me stop you there. Like, you're not the only one who had to blame in what we did, you know, and I apologize for everything on my side as well.
That's beautiful.
And so we had a really great conversation. We talked for like an hour. We caught up on life, and we're going to get together next week. And although I'm really, you know, happy with how the phone call turned out, there's still a part of me that's very hesitant and very reluctant, just because of the pain that's there. So I'm just wondering, how should I go into that meeting with her?
Well, I'm glad to hear that you took that step.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That is wonderful.
And we'll briefly say before the break that the hesitation is probably wisdom, because you don't know, how can I trust this relationship, and then how quickly should I be vulnerable with her? So we'll come back with some advice about that, about pacing this out to find out what kind of person is she now after this period of separation.
Well, and it's always just, you know, even in couples counseling, you know, when couples have been separated, there's that awkwardness of coming back together just because you've been apart. And, you know, I love that you took the step forward. So many times we don't hear that. We're telling people to do that. And you did that, Cindy. So we are so grateful that there is a reconnection. And we'll reconnect with you when we get back after the break.
We have been estranged off and on for 10 years or more, and he has a lot of grievances and anger and bitterness and hatred toward me.
Our daughter is the problem. She said, I don't want to be in your life right now.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Courageous Parents, Transforming Relationships with Your Adult Sons and Daughters. It's an online workshop with Dr. Jim Burns, Dr. Jill Hubbard, and me. I think it will change the way you see your adult children.
I was never prepared for doing life with my adult children. Some of our kids bumped and violated values that we never dreamed they would, and there's some principles that we can talk about.
With insightful teaching and the guidance of a credentialed New Life counselor, this one-day online workshop, Saturday, April 1st, will provide practical advice and hopeful encouragement for navigating the parent-adult-child relationship. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are talking to Cindy, and she is reconciling with a friend, took the first step back, and we are so proud of you for doing that, Cindy. You're doing a lot of good work. Alice or Jill, what would you recommend as how to do that next step?
Well, I think, Alice, you were saying it seems normal to be a bit hesitant because you have been hurt and you don't really know completely why things broke apart, right? And yet you did say in your apology you don't really want to rehash the past. I think the first step really is what you're doing, meeting face to face, and just go in with just wanting to connect with her now. Just seeing how she's doing, what's gone on in her life, and kind of a little more, kind of a catching up. She's very familiar to you because you've been so close. And so it is a little bit awkward, Alice, like you were saying. So to think about it as someone that you haven't seen in a long time, and you're just kind of catching up and being in their presence, and just being in their presence is enough.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't
Alice?
have to be a super deep conversation.
Yeah, it might be purposefully superficial for a time until you determine, is she going to be safe to be a friend in the context of your marriage? Because she had something against your husband for some reason. And so you might withhold some of the deeper parts of your heart from her that you used to share with her. And I'd have you be open at some point to perhaps reconsider rehashing the past, because you might need to find out, why did she take such a severe stance of choose your husband or choose me? There's a story there that if you're to have a deep relationship again, you'll probably need to find out more about it. But you can keep it superficial for
But
as
not
long
on the
as
first
it's
meeting.
necessary.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I was even thinking the first meeting should be like go to one of those paint shops or ceramic, make something together, because then there's this common conversation that's happening while you're doing an activity.
Right. You're just
It's
having
a little
fun
less
together.
threatening. Yes, exactly. Well, we hope, Cindy, that will be helpful. And we're going to send you a copy of the 1 Year Bible for Women. I think that'll be encouraging to you. We're going to go to our last caller. Jenna is calling us from Austin, Texas, and listens on the podcast. Hi, Jenna. How can we help you today? I'm glad we got to your call.
Yes, I have a question of how I could get my ability to cry back. I'm, in my 50s and am a strong person, but I feel a lot. I've got grown children, and it would just be helpful if I could cry with them when they're hurting, and tears just don't come to me.
And did they used to come to you, Jenna?
Yes, but I even remember, like, in college and stuff, I had a long-distance boyfriend, and he would always think it was strange that I didn't cry when we were saying goodbye, but I would cry after he left. But I also came from a very harsh father, and he would make, I would cry, and then my tears would trigger his apology. And I remember saying I was not ever going to cry in front of him again.
So you kind of made a vow to yourself that it wasn't safe to cry.
Right.
Right?
But yes, that's true. I remember those, actually being at the side of my bed and saying I will never cry in front of him again. He will never bring me to tears. And I've had painful things that have happened throughout life, and my grown daughters have had losses, and I'm a strong person, and I do things for them, and I do grieve with them and hold them, but I don't cry with them. And I wish I could. And that recently something happened with one of them, and it's just sad. I can't.
You don't cry with people, but you said that you have cried after people have left. So do you have the ability to cry at all, even when you're alone?
It hasn't been for many years that I've even cried alone. Sometimes I will feel the pain in my chest of crying, and I would love to cry, but it doesn't come.
Mm-hmm. Those commitments that we make to ourselves, I will never cry again, have a surprising internal strength that even when we change our mind, we can't break the stance that we took as a child. And it sometimes takes some deeper traumatic work in trauma counseling to be able to break through that old vow. And oddly enough, that child in you may need to be comforted by you. So you as the adult might need to give the inner child permission to cry, allow her to cry with you in the presence of a counselor through guidance. And sometimes that then unlocks the tears of an adult when the inner child is comforted.
Yeah, so true. Jill, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I think, Jenna, I think this would be a really good issue to take into therapy with a therapist and to really look at that period of time. You're growing up, your harsh father, when you made that vow, and to really look at that little girl that's saying, wait, no, I still need to hold on to this.
What I love about it too, though, Jenna, you're asking about it.
Yeah.
This isn't something that you are not paying attention to.
Yeah.
And it will take some work. I was thinking, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I have 4 children, and they all know I wish I could cry with them.
That's pretty powerful.
And I feel deeply for them.
That vulnerability is probably very comforting to them. And I want you to know your tears aren't necessary to be a comfort and to be empathic to them. It sounds like you actually do a great job of showing up for them in their grief. And it's a good desire you have to want to reconnect with your own emotions through your tears. But I think you're showing up very well as a mom, even if it's without tears.
Right. It's interesting because we all know people who cry all the time.
Right.
Like there's tears coming for every little thing. And that's not always, that's kind of unresolved grief that just keeps going. People will push away and they'll say, oh, I just cry about everything. And it's like, no, there's something underneath
leaking.
The fact that, yes, exactly. But in the same way, though, Jenna, the fact that you're seeking this, and I love what you guys are telling her as far as just doing the exploration. The other part of this, too, is the practice of allowing yourself to cry is, it's been lost, right? I mean, it's just, you made that vow all those years ago, and now you're kind of in that stuck place. But to your point, Alice, Jenna, you are very in tune with how you feel. It's just the physical manifestations aren't coming to the surface. And I do agree. The EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing could be helpful. Timeline, just trying to unwind where that stopped. You have some really good insight. Do you guys have any books that you would suggest that we send to Jenna?
I think Healing is a Choice would really help you unpack what you have been through, action steps to take to further your own healing journey.
Yeah. And, Jenna, one of the things that your therapist will do is you're going to try to find places where the tears will come and practice that. That sounds like you said, when you hang up the phone or when you used to hang up the phone, you'd feel the sadness and you could cry, but it will take some practice to get that tear going in front of somebody else. But we're so grateful that you called and, just know that there's going to be hope and help in the future for you. We're grateful for all of our callers today, and I'm always grateful for you, Jill, and you, Alice, and the wisdom that you share. As we close this program, just remember that it is through the gifts and giving of so many people that New Life Ministries is able to do what we do. And we're grateful for our donors. And you can be one of those people that we're grateful for. If you want to give, you can go to newlife.com or you can give us a call at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We're so grateful you tuned in today, and we'll see you next time And if you have any questions or need any help, give us a call. We are grateful to be there for you. Thanks, Alice, and thanks, Jill. We'll see you.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.